It's recommended to configure a username and a password for logging into a router or a switch for better accountability. Let's configure that now. So let's go back to our config mode and we'll type in username admin. That will be our username, password, and the password that we'll use for admin will be Cisco123. Now we need to enable user login access under the VTY interface. So we'll type in login local. Next, we need to allow both Telnet and SSH access to this device. So we'll type in transport input, we'll do question mark here, and these are the potential protocols that we can use for connecting into this device. More commonly, we see Telnet and SSH. So we can include both of them or one of these for which ones can be allowed. So we'll type in Telnet and then also SSH access. Once we configure a username and a password on R1, let's confirm and show you how this works. We will do this by going to R2 and telnetting directly into R1. But in order for us to do that, we need to configure the interface between R1 and R2 and then confirm that it is working. First, let's go to the serial 0 interface on R1 and configure the IP address and subnet mask reflected in our network diagram. So that will be IP address of 10.1.2.1 and the subnet mask for a /29. Next, we do no shutdown to initialize the interface. Then we will exit out of the config mode. Next, let's go to R2 and configure that serial interface. So that'll be IP address of 10.1.2.2 with the appropriate mask. Let's do a no shutdown. Then let's exit the config. So momentarily though, we see interfaces coming up on both of our routers here. Next, let's confirm if the serial interface on R1 is in a up state. So we'll type in show IP interface brief, and we see our interface of serial 0/0 that is configured with the IP address of 10.1.2.1 that we did earlier, and it matches what we have defined in our network diagram. And we do see that the status and the protocol states are in an up state. So now, once that has been confirmed, we can see if there is connectivity between R1 and R2 by doing a ping test. So we'll type in ping followed by the IP address of our R2 router, which is 10.1.2.2 that's configured. And we do have connectivity. Let's do a ping test on R2 to confirm if it can reach R1. So we'll type in ping followed by the IP address that we configured for R1, which is 10.1.2.1. And we also have success. So we have confirmed that connectivity between R1 and R2 is successful. So now let's do a telnet test to R1 from R2. So we'll type in telnet followed by the IP address of 10.1.2.1 used by R1. Let's log on with our appropriate username and our password. So now we're logged on. We see the user mode prompt for R1. Let's type in enable to get to the privilege mode. Let's input our enable password. And now we're logged in. We see the privilege mode prompt with the pound symbol at the end. So now let's exit out. So we have confirmed that we can telnet into R1 using the username and the password that we configured earlier. In this video, we will statically configure the speed and duplex on one of our LAN Ethernet ports. Let's do this for R1. First, let's go into our configuration mode. Then under our interface for fast Ethernet 0/0. Since we're here, let's configure the IP address that is reflected in our diagram. So that will be IP address of 192.168.1.1, followed by a Class C subnet mask. We'll do a no shutdown to bring up this interface. And now let's configure our speed and duplex. So first be speed, let's do question mark. And we have the option of either 10, 100, or auto. We're going to configure to force 100 megabit per second operation. Next is duplex. We do question mark. And these are the options, which could be auto, full, or half. We want full duplex, so we'll type in full. And that's it. So let's end to exit out of the config mode, and let's look at that interface now. So it'll be show interface fast Ethernet 0/0. So here we see the IP address that is configured, and of course right below that momentarily though we see the speed in duplex in this line here. So we see 100 megabits per second is the speed, and the duplex, which is full duplex, which is defined here. So that is how we can configure and verify the speed in duplex off of an interface. In the presentation, we talked about how the line will change if you type in many characters. And this will depend on the session, but at the beginning of the line will show a dollar symbol. Let's show what this looks like. So let's say we go under our configuration mode. And let's type in just random numbers here. Now if we keep typing it, it's no big deal. The line doesn't change. Let's keep typing it here. And momentarily though, the line changes. It includes a dollar symbol, which is shown here. So that basically means that when you, depending on your session, when you type in multiple characters that exceeds what can be shown previously what was entered, it will change to include the dollar symbol. Just keep that in mind. In this video, we will show you how to configure a security banner to a Cisco device and what it looks like when we telnet to that device. To configure the banner, make sure that you're under the config mode, which we're currently in now, and we'll type in banner. Let's do a question mark. So a banner can be configured in a number of ways. We can configure a exec banner, a login banner, or a message of the day banner. So we're going to configure the MOTD for message of the day, because once we do a telnet session, we will see the banner before we log in, which is what we do want. We want to provide a warning of who is authorized to actually access this router or this switch. So let's type in MOTD followed by a question mark. Now the banner will begin once we start with the character of C, which we'll do now. Once we include the character of C, let's do enter. Now we can start typing in our security message or warning that we want to type in. So let's say something simple, like this is a warning banner, something simple. Let's do enter, and to end the actual message that we want to type in, we enter another character of C. Now we're finished. Let's go ahead and exit out of the configuration mode by typing in end. Now let's go ahead and save our configuration, which we haven't done yet so far. So we can do it in two ways. We can type in write memory, which is what I do a lot. Or, based on the CCNA material, they tell you to use copy run start instead. So we can do that as well. Copy run start for the starter config. So either method does the exact same thing. So now our configuration is saved. Now let's do another telnet test from R2 to confirm and show you what the banner looks like once it's configured. So we'll type in telnet followed by the IP of R1. And right off the bat, we see the actual banner displayed, which is this is a warning banner, which is good because we want to show and to reflect that only authorized users can log in. So let's go ahead and just log in, make sure that works, and let's exit out. But this is how you can configure a security banner and what that looks like when a person connects to that device.